Hello and welcome to YouTube and welcome to the Twitch and welcome to the gay side of the internet and welcome to unfortunately another solo stream. Ocean couldn't be here yet, but today I've got an idea, or I had the idea to do some music making stuff because I really like to make music and I think it's probably interesting to see other people make music if you like to make music, or if you don't like to make music, maybe it's still some nice background noise. You can look at whatever people actually do, whatever is going on behind the screens. And now my screens aren't the best screens in the world. There's plenty of people that are better at producing than I am, but I am also a person that has some producing, so you know it's better than the I don't know. Anyway, it might be interesting. What is also probably interesting about this is I'm gonna try to make some songs, not just on streams, but in general I'm gonna try to make some songs about I'm trying to start up a bit of a my brain is not working. How do words work? I'm trying to set up a bit of a project, probably mainly myself, maybe Ocean will also help. But the idea is to make some music, produce some music that people can use in YouTube videos, because when I kind of made some YouTube videos and tried to edit them, there were some soundtracks that you could get from YouTube, but there was not all that much stuff, and it was kind of basic, I feel. And having more choice is never a bad thing. So the project is currently still like in its baby phase, if you will. But I'm gonna try to make sure that eventually it's gonna be a bit bigger. More stuff is actually gonna happen with it, and people are gonna be able to use a bunch of different songs in their videos without being copyright struck or anything. Not sure how exactly copyright works, but I'm sure I'll be able to make sure that all of the songs are usable, like, copyright freely. So let's see. I've got a little note of things that I need to say, because I'm not good at remembering how to think things. Okay, so my idea with these songs is, because it's difficult to just say I'm gonna make songs. I always find that I need a kind of a thing, like, what kind of songs am I gonna make? And that's why I'm gonna try to make a kind of a canon, a universe, storytelling universe with a bunch of things that there are songs about. And that's gonna hopefully lead to some fun music things. So I have a little thing in Obsidian. It's called, I like to use this much more than Word. So if you're confused why I'm not using Word, it's because I don't like Word. So practically you might see this every now and again when I'm looking for an idea for a song or something, that I'll be moving through some of these folders. These are currently, it's still pretty empty. I have a little to-do list here. Mention a project idea. Yep, got that. Next point is trying to create some story element, or like canon stuff. Because I kind of want to make some songs that actually sound a bit epic, but also not do too much of one thing. Perhaps that will help. It's just an idea. It's an idea for a project. So I don't know yet if it's gonna work or how it would work best, but this is one of the ideas that I had. So I want to make kind of lore for the project, and I'm probably gonna like try to do that a bit in conjunction with writing this song. That I'm gonna come up with a small bit of lore and then build out from there on. I have some ideas, characters, history, topography that eventually will exist in the lore. And it's probably going to be a bit like fantasy, sci-fi-esque. There's probably going to be magic. There's probably going to be like cyborg-ish stuff. I might combine it because I have like kind of a another canon that I also do stuff with. I might combine those. I don't know. It's not certain yet what exactly is going to happen with any of this. And there's a good chance that this this whole file, the whole everything, I'm not going to actually use. I'm just going to end up making funny songs. But yeah, I think probably the best idea for the actual actual songs, or for making the lore with the songs, is probably to just start with some songs. So I'm gonna just look here a bit. I'm gonna play around a bit like I usually do when I want to make a song. I just press some random buttons, try out some random instruments here in Ableton, my go-to program for making stuff. So I guess we're gonna see what we can come up with. I wanted to do something with this instrument. I made it earlier today because I finally found out how some things in Ableton worked, and I think it sounds pretty cool because it had like, I can press one key and you get kind of a bass note and a whole chord around it. So it's much easier to actually come up with some cool things, and I found out that some chords in the way that I did it worked really interesting. Like that's an odd chord, and like it works. It works a bit funky. I don't know honestly yet what chord it is. I have to look at it for that, and I'm also going to try to explain some of the things that I do, because I think it's much more interesting to, as a viewer, to actually kind of have an understanding of what's going on, rather than just, oh, now they're moving this thing and this and this is moving around and this is exploding. Believe me, exploding is definitely part of the process. It's not something going wrong. That will be ridiculous. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is just make a bit of a, because I have some audio samples kind of. I noticed that my keyboard, if I slap in a certain way, it sounds interesting, and I'm very fidgety, so I often have like that I'm making like little that I'm just making like random drum-y things. Like I had a recording here. Some stuff like that. And I thought, actually this sound actually sounds more like an actual snare drum than a lot of the snare drums that I use. So I thought maybe maybe I can make a drum rack with it. And it's probably interesting as well to see how you make a drum rack. I'm probably gonna get some ideas from that. So let's go. First, it's probably just gonna be some snare stuff for now. Practically in Ableton, most instruments work with either with samples short audio files that you put in the kit, and then play them, or they work with wavetable, which is a thing, more of a synthesizer-ish thing. So now I have this drum kit here. This is the button, and then I have the audio file in here. And I don't want to, when I use the snare drum, I want to have the right thing. So what I'm going to do is this is the kind of the sample. When I click on the instrument here, this is the sample. I'm going to call it keyboard kit, because it's my keyboard. Then with these little arrows, I'm going to look, and I'm going to try these, these things that aren't, the parts that aren't flat are sound. Makes sense, I guess. And the higher / lower it is, the more volume it has. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to see. That's an interesting sound. I like that sound. I want to have a little thing for that sound in my drum kit so that I can use it. Then I'm just going to zoom in. You can just zoom in by up and down. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm kind of going to go to the start of the sound so that it doesn't, if I do this, then it takes a sec for it to actually pop in. But now it's, as soon as I press the button, bam. So that's, that's one sound. And if I make a beat with it, I can say do. That's not what it's probably not the same speed that I'm thinking as well. And then you can hear the audio file. It's not called the snare yet, but now it is. The audio file plays whenever this thing here is a thing. And this little thing is the thing that you're seeing at the bottom, which has the beat in it. And the kick is the bass drum. And the snare is it's a brighter sound, a bit higher, a bit shorter, a bit clearer. It depends on everything. It depends on pretty much literally everything. So now I'm gonna, so I have the one sound. I'm probably gonna see as well, because I had some more interesting sounds in the file. And then I'm gonna place that over here. Now I'm gonna look through some more of the sounds from here. That's neat. I think I like this one because it, it gives some funky. It gives some funky options that I can it's just having options is nice. Snare, I guess I'll call it snare roll. It's kind of like a quote-unquote drum roll. I can put that to the snare roll, and then not exactly as I expected it, but still kind of funky. I kind of like it. It still works in a beat. Then I don't have a bass drum yet. Does this? Ooh, that kind of works, maybe. I'm gonna try. I didn't mean to have that play. So I'm gonna press this button here, and then bam, and then there I've got my audio file thingy. And then, this is just a recording. I believe it's WAV, which is, it's called lossless audio for blah 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 technical reasons. But you know, it's a recording file, and I can just drag that in here. You can use MP3s, WAV, and more. So then I'm gonna make this sound in there. It's not. And then I'm gonna cut off the sound of the little clickies, mouse presses. Okay, that seems pretty good. So I think I want to have it a bit, you know, louder. Can I normalize? I think I want to remove some of the util there. There, I think that kind of works. Perhaps. And then this transpose, it makes the sound lower or higher. And then what I want to do, you know, there's like some different sounds in there, and I kind of want to remove the top sounds, you know, the higher frequencies. So I'm gonna add this little thing. Practically, this shows the different frequencies of the sound, and then, you know, that the graph goes down here means that you don't hear this part at all, you hear this part less good, better, and this is normal. So I kind of cut off the higher frequencies if there's a slightly annoying high sound in there or something, or I just want it to be lower, then I use that. I'm hearing some kind of a sound through things that I don't want to hear. I think. Oh wait, that was the recording. I'm not sure that I actually want to take off. I know, I kind of like it as a drum kit. It's unconventional, but it's funky. Are there any more funny sounds? I can see if the spacebar works. But then I have to make it not actually trigger anything. So here, okay, that works. Clicking out of the thing. Then I'm going to start to record. No, keep forgetting to undo this, because when it has this this little play thing in black and green, then it's showing you that as soon as anything starts playing, this also starts playing. When I record it starts playing this stuff. So I'm going to do that, and then click away. And then let's see how that sounds. I'm going to take that off. I believe this was the... It's kind of like a clappish sound. I don't know. I could probably use it for something. Oh wait. Bass, drum, and then... Oh wait. Let's see here. This is just some of the technical stuff. Of course, it's always more fun to see someone like be like bam right in there. But if you want to learn some of the stuff, or if you're interested, even if you don't necessarily want to understand what's going on, you just think it's interesting to look at, this is interesting as well. And what I'm doing, by the way, when I'm making those, you know, when I'm doing just the jam sessions, I have a little MIDI keyboard next to me here, which is just a small, well, practically a piano-ish instrument with some buttons on it, and I have some gauges, and I can use that to control this. I also have another keyboard that has its own sounds as well. But yeah, when I'm just playing some melodies or, you know, playing some drums on that, you know, that's just me physically playing things before you get confused. Now, there's some delay on it, by the way, so if my beats aren't as good as you'd hope, I'm very, very sorry. But it's difficult to play like that. Now I'm thinking I might need to take off this thing, because you know, you kind of hear it. It's a double sound, but maybe it sounds much more interesting like this. So I'm gonna treat this as a hi-hat, right? If you listen to basic drums, you'll usually kind of hear some things like this bass drum. Then you have that's snare. You have the little hi-hat is something that you usually hear throughout a lot of beats and like bop and stuff, and it's like. It's just, you know, you hear some of those, usually the bass, snare, and the hi-hat are kind of the trifecta, and then you have some different cymbals and some toms around it, like for some, you know, some interesting breaks, blah blah blah. But you know, most that you need to know about the rhythm is that you have different. You know, you have a few different things, and now if you look here, you see that these four, you know, these four little things are a bit darker than these are, and these are dark again. So you know, you see that it's divided, and you see 1, 1.1.2, 1.1.3, 1.1.4, and 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, and those are. You know, it has to do with how beats work. I'll explain that really quickly. This song currently is in 4/4, which means you have ta, do, 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 ta, do, do, do throughout the whole song. So if you have do, 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 you kind of have like, you kind of always hear 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You know, you can count it in 1, 2, 3, 4s. That's probably the most used version. And there's also 3/4, which means you know, 4/4 is you have 4 of a specific length of note that's called a fourth, and 3/4 means you have 3 of a fourth note. So yeah, 4/4 is dum do 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 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, whereas 3/4 means 1 2 3 1 2 3. And if you have like kind of a waltz-ish type of thing, or if you have, well, there's different ways that something can be a 3/4 or 4/4. But for example, if I play something really simple, just random. Oh, that's not that's not a piano sound. Something like. Then here, there's you know, the chords and the left hand, the chords. You've got, you know, those change every 4/4 note in the right hand. So like, to make it short and brief and understandable, that's one beat. That's another beat. And so you hear the chord every beat, and one of the notes of the melody every like every fourth of a beat. it's always more difficult to explain something that makes so much sense to yourself than you think that it will be. And if you have 3/4, you might have something like. So you have like that type of a thing, and for example, if you want to have it in drums, I usually use the triplet grid because I don't like how Ableton does it with this stuff. But like, you'll have something like, you know, a 4/4, a simple 4/4 is usually something. Just give me a second to put everything in. Just some really basic stuff. A basic 4/4 can be, but then without actually, I think I'm just gonna cut this part off. Don't snap, please. Does that work? So yeah. Oh no, that's not the problem. Not the biggest problem, at least. That kind of thing, and then if I make it twice as long, you can hear 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and then we're gonna 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. So you can kind of hear the difference between them, and these are very simple types of things that we can clearly hear where there's a 1. But you know, it's not always that simple. In fact, there's some really interesting things out there. There's some songs where it changes from the most unorthodox timing to another most unorthodox timing. But most songs are either 3/4 or 4/4. So that's kind of some basic stuff on rhythm that, you know, I thought it might be interesting to understand the drum kit. Now the drum kit, practically, you know, how you use the drum kit, you make those sounds, and you put them in this little, technically a matrix, I guess, but you know, it plays from the left to the right, and it plays these notes. So you have, and then I usually like to, you know, sometimes you can do with 1 or 2 beats. Sometimes you need 4 beats, sometimes you need 8 beats to make sure that it's unique enough. I usually like to have something that, you know, because the roll is quite, you know, quite distinctive. You can really hear, like that's a funny thing almost in the beat. So I like to make that not appear too often, because else it just seems so, you know, you take that and you use that everywhere. That's just the only thing. But I have much more to show off. So I have something like this. You know, so I like to have some variations in stuff that's going on. So this, I think I'm gonna use this as my first drum beat now. These samples, yeah, what I'm gonna do is, here I have these samples. They are still part of the larger files. This one and this one are specially recorded, so they're less big files, but you know, here you see a bunch of sounds that are already recorded. Now what I can do is I can right mouse and I can say crop sample. What it's going to do is, instead of having this whole big audio file, I'm going to see here that the thing that I'd selected gets practically cut out of there, and that becomes the only thing that the drum kit is using anymore. And I've had some drum kits where I used a bunch of samples, and it was really annoying how the drum kit would always take minutes to load, because I had to load all of those samples. So what you can do against that is crop samples. Snare roll, I did that one snare, and it's nice that Ableton just provides you with a simple button to do that, and I also don't have to be scared that I accidentally whoops, because they can go all the way to the edge, and that is exactly where I've put them before. So that's some drums. Now I'm gonna remove these audio files. I still have them somewhere, but just in case, I always like to actually do the cropping thing because it makes a new file within the project. So I've got some drums. I like that. Then I'm gonna look at some of this stuff. Now what I have here, is an instrument. We just had a drum kit, which is so you have some different sounds that it can play, and those are all, different drums on the drum kit. Now we're going to look at more of an instrument, and I think it might be interesting and funnier to look at it with a simpler, because you have different types of instruments, and I usually use either simpler or a wavetable. We'll get to that. I think I'm just gonna, let's see, I have a bottle here. If you know the little, it's not a party trick, but it's like, we have a bottle, you can kind of blow air over the top of it, and if you do it in the right way, you get a nice sound. And I always do that when I have a bottle. So if I try to record that, I'm gonna look at the audio stuff, and I'm going to record something real quick. So, how many of you already saw that coming? Probably everyone. And I like to have a few different recordings of the thing that I have. So, the first two kind of didn't really, didn't work. They were duds almost. The third one and the fourth one, they seemed pretty good. There it is. And now you are about to see the difficulties of making nice instruments in, digital music, because, of course we've had to make the samples, and now we're going to actually use the samples, which is usually much more difficult. So you see, funky little hee-hee. It's pretty cyanoid, right? The cyanoid is just and it's pretty round. It's pretty close to just a cyanoid. I want to see if I do this, does that feel nice to play with? Because, these instruments that you make in Ableton, you kind of want to make them so that you can, play them yourself, or program them in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little. Let's see, what kind of melody do you want to play? Just something funky. I think I would like to have it like this. And now we have a few different problems at the same moment. Oh dear, oh lord. And you might have heard the clicks. You have a little clickish sound at the start of the thing, and not everyone might notice it right away, but it's definitely going to get in your way, especially as the musician trying to listen what's going on. It's definitely going to get confusing when you try to make things work and you constantly hear the click. It's not my favorite thing. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that the instrument, I think probably the easiest way is just to give it some attack. And now the attack means that it's gonna take a second. It's gonna fade in rather than just start playing. And the thing, you heard me play the melody. It's practically it's taking the same piece of sound file and transposing it, practically kind of pressing the wave together or stretching it apart to make it longer and shorter. And if you've followed your physics class, then you'll probably know that a longer or shorter wave means a different frequency, and that means a different pitch. So if it compresses and stretches, it can make different pitches with it. It's this is a pretty funny or a pretty simple example. I can also I can see if I can do some kind of funny. I'll just do a little voice line, because it's usually clear what happens when you do that. So if I have something like this is a voice line, and then I cut off the little clicks. So if I have that, this is a voice. This is a voice. This is a voice line. 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 And now it's trying to warp it, which it doesn't need to do. But this is a voice line there. So I have a little audio thing now. I can quickly show something that's more intuitive for how it works. This is a voice line, right? That's a normal.
This is a voice line. This is a voice line. This is a voice line.
This is a voice line. So you can hear it like that. You can still hear that it's kind of the same sentence.
This is a voice line.
And I can put some funny audio effects on it. Do I have anything interesting, like a dark and old?
This is a voice line.
And that's some of the sentences that you're hearing in the middle of some newer songs. Look at this is a voice line, and then it drops and it something like, I don't know, but you can hear that there's a.
This is a voice line.
You can hear that is what's happening and stuff. And I think I'm gonna actually keep this one. I'm gonna keep this one ready. Probably should put it in the keyboard kit. I'm gonna take the. No, I should probably just from here track the sample in here. That should be the right sample. This is a voice line. I'm just gonna transpose it down.
This is a voice line. This is a voice line.
Or maybe I should transpose it up, because I like when they're transposed up. It's just funny, like a chipmunk.
This is a voice line.
So I'll make a duplicate to kind of like. I think I'm gonna duplicate it, and then this is a voice line.
This is a voice line.
And then you might have been able to hear that it wasn't exactly, it didn't start at the right exact moment.
This is a voice line.
And then down.
This is a voice line.
Actually, I think for purposes of my own ease, I'm gonna do it down by one bit, so it hopefully fits better. Because if it changes,
This is a voice line.
if it transposes, it also changes how long the sample takes to play, really. Now if I want to know, exactly how I should react to this in the music, we've got a little thing here, and it's going to be clear enough soon what it does. Look at this.
This is a voice line. 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 This is a voice line.
Okay, it seems like it has a B, and then it's B and a C sharp. So
This is a voice line. This is a voice line. This is a voice line. This is a voice line.
doesn't seem to love this clip, does it? But yeah, I might need to keep that in mind if I, try to use that part in an actual bit of music. Then I have to keep in mind probably that it has like a specific frequency, so blah 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 blah. Now, I think we get how, the different things with sampling kind of work. I'm just trying to explain everything that I'm doing. I think mainly we get what sampling for drum kit works like. But now here we have a little instrument, and I've removed the click. I don't have it actually playing on there, but now at the end you still hear a click, which is unfortunate. And if I want to make any notes that are longer than 0.8 seconds, that's tough luck. But luckily we've got some funny things to do with that, because we have a little button. It's a little button loop, and it's practically our way of saying, "Hey computer, too bad for you." So now you kind of hear a constant sound, but you also keep hearing the click at the end of the sound, and I guess probably also at the start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that click disappears, of course. And I'm going to play with some of these parameters, and it's a bit confusing what buttons do what. I usually forget one does what. But what I'm doing now is, this little trapezium is one time that it's playing, and this is another time that it's playing. And practically what it's saying here is this one is playing, then actually this is one that plays, and this is one that plays, I think. But it starts playing, and it keeps playing, and this one is also playing. So this one goes down when another one starts playing as well. So it keeps it. It keeps it making sense, if that makes any sense. So what happens now? You still hear some slight annoying pieces in the loop, but at least it's a repeating instrument. It works for longer than just 0.8 seconds. And now it's an instrument that I can use, so I can play little things with it. I can play so that's funky and stuff. And then if I want to do more, there's like some more stuff about you can make it start later. You can I can adjust the volume here. There's if you want to get into producing, you'll probably notice that there's a lot of different buttons for changing the volume at different places. Here you have the gain thing. Here you have a volume button. It probably has some stuff here as well that does it in some way. Here you have a thing. If you see the little green thing goes up here, and if I do this down, you notice that it's much quieter. And then this one also does it, and then I can also put in here a utility thing has a thing. I'm not going to put it that loud. That would murder some ears. That has some things, and most audio effects also have some sliders for how loud it is. So you'll probably notice that there's a lot of different places that there's volume things going on, but it makes sense if you get into it a bit. So I think that's a reasonable volume. Now I'm thinking of doing something really, really simple. Just something kind of really a background music. A piece of background music, something that I can put in the back of a video and you can listen to and you can be like, oh yeah, there's a, it's less silent when you're not actually talking, or in the background of when you're talking, than what I have now, for example, where there's no background music. So you can the moments that I'm interrupting myself, the moments that there's no me talking, you're almost bored. So what I like to do is make a little song, and it's it's less of a traditional song because you can kind of repeat it. So but it's gonna work in a way that you can kind of put it in the background of a video, and it makes it less boring if you don't have any sort of music. Which is it's a very nice thing to have, really. Most video games have their own music, so if you play video games a lot, then you probably won't have the problem. But there's plenty of people that do have the problem. So I'm just gonna do some funky sounds, and I'm just gonna turn this off. This is whether or not when it receives the message that I'm playing a key, it should actually play the key, right? If I have it auto, it's gonna play it. If I have it off, you see here I'm pressing the key, it's not happening, it's not doing anything. And I'm just gonna press some keys and see if I can find some funny things. Okay, that's already pretty good. I'm practiced at making funny things, so and I use my knowledge of harmonics and stuff. So if you try to do some producing for yourself, it's not always going to be this easy. And for me, it's not always that easy either. But here we've got a funny little thing. Let's see how fast it is. Well, I think I'm actually gonna transpose it down. Actually, wait, I have not checked what type of sound it is. What? It's an F. Is that the sound that is that the sound of the bottle? Is that? Oh wait, that's because I transpose it down. Now, you actually, I'll try and explain some stuff about harmonics. So you have a bunch of different keys on the keyboard. You can see here you have the group of 2 black and group of 3 black, and then you have the white ones around it. And you see here the C is marked every time. The C, especially in piano, the C is a very interesting key. Now, if I play the C, you see the little thing lighting up. And piano is, well, I was going to say piano is really well designed for the Western styles of music, but it's kind of the other way around as well. Western music works really well with how a piano was designed. So all of the white keys form one. Well, there's different things you can call it. You can call it a key or a scale. But all of those notes sound kind of funky together, kind of nice. Better than something like you know, something random. So if I do all of the white keys, you know, that generally works together well. If you make a melody, you often have a key with, so you know, all of the most of the notes in the melody are in the key, and that also has means some more things for the chords. Now today, maybe it's better to do only one. Yeah, I think I'm gonna actually just take C. And how was it?
This is a voice line.
It's actually kind of annoying because it's not. No, that's not what I want. What I want to do is. I've never thought about this, but does it not actually have a. Because what you're seeing here, it's red, and red in this case means no, not very good, and it's kind of, you know, sometimes it's showing an F, sometimes it's showing an E, and what that means has to do with how you know, guitar tuning little machines. It shows you kind of how a sound is tuned, and in this case it's telling us that it's not really tuned on a sound that exists in music, in Western music mainly, and there's plenty of other types of music where it doesn't quite exist, because it's in between an E and an F. So it shouldn't exist in, you know, the type of music that Ableton is made to work with, and, you know, also the type of music that I have in my brain. So maybe it's not gonna work. I think instead of it, I'm just gonna replace the bottle with a simple wavetable. You're not gonna. Don't look at this. Don't look at it. It's too scary if you don't know how it works. So now you see, I have a thing playing on the C, and I also have another thing playing here. It's a thing that happens to work nicely with it. If you have a scale, you know, like the C scale, look at the white notes again, the white keys, and there are some things that don't sound nice, like that sounds kind of, you know, you don't want that as like a melody. You don't want it's a second, practically, how you count how far away certain pitches are. They're called intervals, and if I go from here to here, it's 1, 2, and you have both this and this is called a second, because of confusing reasons, but usually most intervals work pretty simple because you know, most of the scales that you use in music, you know, for seconds, fourths, fifths, and eighths generally work pretty easy. So if you have this, it's easy to say that it's a second, a fourth, a fifth, or an eighth, because, you know, generally you don't have any other types of things exactly than what it is. It's confusing. Just if you look at the white keys, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So each of the keys that has a, you know, if I have 1, 2, 3, then from C to this one, it's a third. That's a fourth, it's a fifth. You just count, and then instead of giving it, you know, this isn't a 3, it's a third. So you give it the, you know, like a place like you would in a race. You know, this one finished third. That kind of thing. It's confusing, I get it. Maybe it soaks in. Maybe I really need to explain it better for anyone to get it. But there are some sounds that sound nice. For example, if I have a fourth, that sounds pretty nice, right? A fifth, an eighth, those sound kind of nice. But if you have a second, that doesn't work that well, or a seventh, we don't like those noises in Western music, at least. Now there's the C scale is technically a specific type of scale. You have minor and a major, and it's very confusing if you haven't understood yet how the major works. So remember, this is the C major scale, usually called the C scale. So what I want to do is, if I want to write a song, a very simple step is only really use the keys that are in the scale. So I have 7 different keys to use, but luckily for me, that repeats every octave. So if I have this, then I also have, and then technically it should be, because this one is part of the next one again, but practically I have a whole bunch of keys to use, all of the white ones for this song that I'm going to write, because it's going to be in C, because I'm so nice and I make it understandable. Don't mind me, I don't know. So what I'm going to try to do is, I'm going to see, I've got the keyboard, or like the drum kit, and I've got the sound, so I think I do want a nicer sound for that and a less loud sound. As usually I'm just making music and just playing it like as loud as I want it to be, so they can really hear everything going on. But now I also have to narrate it, so if I put it too loud, you can't hear me anymore. Okay, that's just a funny little thing. It sounds nice, and because these keys are both white keys, they work in the same key, and because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, which, as I said, 5th sounds pretty good. It works well. It sounds nice. So when it's playing, you have the drum kit. And you have this little thing kind of almost reminds you of the harmonics, because if I would have this on and then try to start playing something else, you get some real confusing things. Like if I would play this and then play something like, actually that's still C, don't worry about it. If I play, it sounds a bit confusing, but if I play something like that works, so it's almost a reminder of how the song goes, all of the things that I came up with. It almost reminds me of that. And now this is a confusing little machine. It has a bunch of different confusing things. Has some it's confusing. You see if you look really well, you can see C, D, E, F, G. Actually, no, I mean C. My brain just collapsed. C, a D, an E, an F, a G, an A, and a B, because all of the keys are named after, practically letters of the alphabet. Starts at A, and it goes to G, and then it repeats back with A. Those are the white keys. Now for the black keys, you have C sharp, C flat. Actually, C flat technically exists, but it's easier to explain. If I have D here, if I have D, it's a white key, so it has its own name. If I go down half a note from that, because this is one whole note, but there's a black one in between. Any key from any key to the next key is half a note. It's confusing. If you remember that it's half a note from any key to the direct next key, including whites and blacks, then it can kind of soak in. And someone at some point thought, like, oh, because a scale begins with this, so that must be what a whole pitch is or something. Someone came up with that kind of a thing, and even then, still, we don't always use the exact stuff in the scale. So what I do, if I have a D and I go one down, like half a note down, if I go one key down, that is, I call it a D flat. And if I go one key up, then it's suddenly called a C sharp. And you might have seen before, like if I have, I'll just type it in here because I don't know how better to do it right now. If I have a D, then a D flat, you can write it like that. It's a D with a small b. It works well enough. And then a D sharp as a little hashtag. So that's, if I'm talking about sharps and flats at any point, you might have remembered that. But for now, we're looking at the white keys, which forms the major C scale. And it's confusing what exactly things work well and not. That's a lot of experimenting as well. But generally, most things in the C scale. And if you look at a scale, usually if you take any random key on the scale, and then the third and the fifth, that works nicely. That's what we call a chord. So if I have the C chord, I have the C, I have its third, and I have its fifth. So that's how I come up with a chord. Now, as you can see, what I have in here is 2/3 of a chord. That will be the whole chord. So, I kind of cheated there. I already knew how chords worked. And chords can be made different in way more different ways. You can say, I want to have this kind of a chord. Or I want to have extra keys. Or you just want to remove keys. That is confusing, but for now we're working with some simple 3-key chords. So if I want to, actually I might just put a 3-key chord here up. So now it's a pretty simple chord. It's not going to change the world, but it's going to sound like if you're playing piano or something and you manage to strike a chord, it's definitely a start. It's a seed that will grow into a tree, or it's a branch that will grow into more parts of the tree, depending on how you look at the analogy. But you know, and then this machine that I have here, it's almost a machine. Practically what it does is it looks at the C scale and anything that's not in the C scale. For example, here, this black key, you know, you can see the C sharp, D sharp, E, F, and blah, blah, blah. So I have here C sharp. C sharp is a black key, so it's not in the C scale. So if I look at that, it, you know, I have the D. Actually, I should turn the chord thing off. Here, I'm gonna press this, press the D sharp, or C sharp, sorry. You're gonna see that this thing, this little blue thing lights up. What that means is slightly confusing, but practically it's saying here it's a bit of a table, right? If I input this, you know, if I input this lane, it's gonna look and it's gonna see nope, 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 nope. Yes, this is what I output, and that has to do with MIDI. It's confusing. I'm not gonna explain it entirely yet, but practically the short rundown is it gets things in, like it hears things from other parts of the everything, and then it says, oh wait, this doesn't fit in the scale, I'm gonna move it so that it does fit in the scale, and it kind of just makes automatic chords. So if I have something like this, those are all chords that fit within the C scale. I thought maybe that would be nice to work around with a bit, like just play around, but I think that's going to be very confusing, because I only recently, like only earlier, like 2 hours ago, I got the idea. I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm going to explain what I do. I'm seriously doubting whether it was a good idea to do that, but you know, at this point I'm too far to go back. So so I have these things form chords, these things form a nice beat, and then I want some more things. What else do I want? I want a bass line. That's pretty funky. I want a bass line. I'm gonna take one of the pre-made, there's a few different instruments in Ableton already made that I'd like to use. One of them is the abdominal bass. It sounds really mean if you like use it in the right circumstances. Like I'm gonna scare you with some mean sounds right now. I'm gonna make them slightly shorter because of how it works, and you're gonna hear they weren't shorter enough. So that works very well if you kind of like tune it down by one, and they have a beat underneath it, that, you know, kind of, you know, usually the bass is filling the whole bass register of the song, you know, so all of the low notes, you're constantly hearing the bass, and then suddenly there's gaps in it, and you're like, whoa. So it you know, it's a bit confusing. But it works really well if you're trying to make something cool. Now I'm gonna just make it pretty simple. I'm gonna make it down here. You see C1. C1 is lower than C2. C2 is lower than C3. You know, practically if I have a C, D. Actually, I'm gonna try this. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And because of pianos, well, I think because of pianos, I'm not sure technically what the history is, but you know, because of different things in music, when you go, actually, I'm just gonna, when you go from the B3, you go up by one key, you get to the C4, which is also funny, haha, explosive. But you know, if it's a B3, then the key above it is a C4, because somewhere, you know, if you would have, you know, B3 goes to a C3, then you need another point where it switches over to 4, or everything, you know, this and this would technically be the same key because they both be C3. So after each B it goes blah 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 blah. It's confusing, and I think if I keep trying to explain it like that, it's gonna only get more confusing. So now I have, I'm just gonna here chord, drums, and bass, because that's much clearer than the stuff that I had there. Now I've turned this off so you won't hear the audio things during the song anymore. I don't know if this is going to be too mean for the... Well, it's definitely quite loud. Turn it down there. So let's listen. Bass a bit because it's, you know, I need something funky, and it wasn't entirely fitting with everything else. So but now you can hear we have, you know, chords, we have drums, we have bass, and then we need one of the simple things to say next is we need a melody. So melody, right? And then here it's again a simple instrument, probably something like this. And it's just a simple instrument. Please don't be confused. And it's just an instrument to sound nice. And now you can write some really basic, simple melodies with you know, with C, because usually, you know, most people that are using C are either explaining something to someone who's you know, newer to making music, or are someone who is newer to making music, or, you know, sometimes you use it, but there's 12 more keys, or yeah, 12 more keys out there, and they're minors, and they're harmonics, and blah 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 blah. There's a whole bunch of keys, so you won't always end up using C major, but you know, you can come up with some different things in C. I'm gonna just play some things. That was just some, you know, some random stuff. As long as you keep within the white keys, you know, it's easier to get something that sounds nice than if things just popped up on my screen. There. But if you, as long as you stay within the white keys, it's much easier to make a good melody. And sometimes, if you know, you go outside of the white keys, you can get something that's more interesting, more spicy, but that's for later. So I think I'm gonna go with something like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. So I'm just kind of transcribing what I've just played on the keyboard. It's doom pa, dum pa, dum pa, ta, dum dum da 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 dum 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 ta ta ta. So I don't know how fast it is, but at least, you know, as fast as I'm playing it is like doom dum 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 dum, and I know which keys I pressed myself, so I've put those in there, and I've kind of made sure that it's in a funny little, you know, it's in the right timing with each other. I usually, you know, a lot of people kind of try to, you know, like look at it and place the things and then space it out. I usually like to, like when I have the melody, you might have heard me doing it. Dum ba dum ba dum ba da bum dum 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 ba ba ba. I also have like a little, almost an accent for the keys where there, for the seconds where there isn't anything. So I'm saying it as if it's kind of like, as if there are also things where there actually isn't anything. It's just easier to remember, or like to understand how many empty spaces there are between every thing, and then I space it out. So what I have then is, I'm gonna play this without the other part because I'm almost scared that it's not gonna sound well. But sounding well is something for perhaps for a later time. But now let's hear how it sounds. But no, that's not enough for a whole song. So we want to have some more content here. And what you see here, I've just pressed duplicate loop. It practically just duplicates this little part, and puts it there again. So I have the same thing twice now. And I'm gonna see, because there's a very sneaky thing you can do in music. I have this first little thing, and I can make a variation on that sounds very similar, fits with it, and yet is different. It makes it feel like you're really doing something different. It makes it more of a story than just the same sentence repeat, So I have dum 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 bum dum 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 dum. So there I have like a little thing. So they're very similar. I'm gonna change the end. Usually when you're making a second part of the same melody, you're making it kind of, you're changing mainly the end, usually to be something that sounds like it but not the same. You can hear a lot of examples of these types of melodies in songs. If you go listening for it, probably your favorite song, if it has a melody, there's a lot of songs that use this type of a thing where you'd have a melody with, it's often called like call and answer, or like question and answer, or like a back and forth, something along those lines. Different people always have different phrases or different words for different things in music, but it's often something, people often call it something along the lines of question and answer. So practically what I'm doing is I'm saying, it's as if you say, how many apples are in the basket? 12 apples are in the basket. You're repeating most of the same sentence, but then you change it a bit so that it's different. It actually does what it need to do in the sentence. Actually, in the sentence, it has the it conveys the amount of apples that there are, and in our music it sounds different. So now we have some instruments, and this is not the best song that I've ever written. I'll disclose that. I have some better things, but I think it might be time, because I don't want to make it too confusing. It might be time to go and work on the mixing of the song a bit, because we have these little things that are going to be in the song, and then we actually want to make it into a song. Also, by the way, I should have probably done that 10 minutes ago, but now it's much more similar to the sound, to the volume of the rest. So I think I'm also gonna make it the whole song slower here. This is tempo and beats per minute. So before it was 120, which means every second has 2 beats because every minute has 120 beats. Once again, it means something technically so that it can be universal, but it's kind of just a feeling. So what I can do now, I can record the form of the song. And I think I'm gonna start with the melody and perhaps the drums. So that's going to be my start, and then I'm probably going to add the bass in there, and then suddenly the chords, and that's going to make it feel full, because the melody is it's this thing that almost makes you remember where in the song you are. It makes the song a bit interesting, because there's something moving around. It's like when people put on the TV so that you get distracted by it and have something to do instead of, running around the house. I might I might be too much like a baby in my attention span for people to recognize things that I recognize. Anyway, but yeah, it's the thing that's kind of moving around and it grabs your attention. The drums are mainly there to kind of remind you where in the bar you are. So you can remember where. If you started, usually in simple beats, there's and most of my beats you have a bass drum. Most of the first things you have one here. You don't have one here. This one is a bit faster than there, but you have a snare. You have a bass. You have a snare. Actually, yeah, it can differ. Sometimes it's a bass and a snare, like bass, snare, bass, snare, and then there's some other basses around or snares. Sometimes it's bass, 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 bass. Sometimes it's bass, 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 snare, bass, bass, snare, bass. Blah, 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 blah. There's a billion different combinations that can happen, if you're kind of tuned into it, which most people on the earth are, not just musicians, are tuned into when a beat starts. The start of a beat. You might not always be able to say it, but you've got the feeling in your head, even if you're not a musician. So the drums really serve to, remind you where in the beat you are. Even if you're just listening, you hear it and you're like, oh, that's the start of the beat. And very often, if you have more confusing melodies, the drums need to remind you where the melody starts, because there's certain things going on that are incredibly funky and they sound really cool, but not if you kind of misunderstand them. So the drums often do that. You have bass, it's kind of to fill up the lower register, if you will, and it's also mainly almost a remnant from when there wasn't such a thing as as producing. You would usually have little bands, and the setting of bass guitar, drums, the chords would be a lead guitar or a second guitar, and then the melody would be a singer. So it's kind of from bands, kind of rock bands, where they have that type of a setting. So you can use that, but I really advise to also sometimes just try, like, what would happen if I would have no bass at all, or if I would have 2 basses, or if I would have something that doesn't exist in here, if I have something that does both bass and drums, or if I have 2 melodies, blah 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 blah. A billion things that you can try around with, and I absolutely encourage it, because that makes songs much more interesting. But I'm going to start with the melody and the drum, so you kind of hear the start of this. You hear the melody that's really going to remind you, oh yeah, this is this song. And then you're going to hear the drums to make sure that you understand the melody correctly, almost. And usually you won't have much trouble understanding a melody correctly if it always starts with the first note on the first, on the first count of a beat. But sometimes it can still be a bit confusing. So I'm going to start the song like this. And I'm going to record it, and I'm going to add the bass and the chords later. It's not incredibly impressive, as I said before. You're not going to hear this listed as one of the world top hits, but it's a song. You can clearly hear that it is a song, and there's things in there that make sense together with chords and stuff. So for explaining things, which I turned out to explain much more than I thought I was gonna. So now we go in here, and this is our recording. Our recording isn't a sound file that says like these waves and blah 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 blah. Our recording is it's made of what are called MIDI files. You can forget the name pretty quickly. Practically what they do is they tell the instrument that will produce the actual sound what keys are pressed and released when. This the C4 key is pressed from 1 point, I guess that's 1.1.2, or from 1 to 1.1.2, and then there was this one from 1.1.3 to 1.1.4. So it kind of tells the instrument that, and then the instrument is like, okay, I'm gonna make that sound for you with how I am. And the nice thing about that is that, for example, if I need to put the melody in the instrument for the chords as well, that's just gonna work. The chord is like, oh, this is something. I'm gonna listen to that, and I'm gonna see what's going on, and suddenly you have two melodies running over each other. In fact, you can even do the drum beat with it, but that usually turns out to be a bit of gibberish. Like if you can. This, as you can see, you also have the black keys and the white keys, so technically it can transfer. And now you see here, that's also filled that into the things here. So it sounds a bit funky, but when I listen to it, I'm like, did they really think well about this melody? And it's me who's making the song, so I can answer, no, it wasn't a melody that was thought about. It was a melody that happened because of a drum beat. But that's not that important. But it's useful to understand how exactly the song, how exactly the signals traveling to the instruments work. And I'm probably also going to say some stuff about what are called audio effects and MIDI effects. But the MIDI is a type of file, a type of thing that tells the instruments when they need to make sound and which pitch. And then the instruments is like, okay, then you get this. So this is what we currently have. I forgot to, say words, human things. But I'm about to play what the whole thing that we have, and it doesn't have any mixing or effects or whatever yet. So bear with me. It's not going to be a super good song at any point during this process, but it's going to be a good enough song to explain. So you see the bass coming in again. Chords. And this is it's not super impressive anything. I'm going to save it real quick, but it's not really an impressive type of thing. It's not going to blow your mind. But usually I like to make songs that are more blow your mind-ish. So you know, so you don't think this is all you're gonna get to put in your videos if you want to use it, just in case that was what you thought. I'm gonna put this in there, and then samples, because I have some better tracks than this. Melody but you know, usually it takes, if you have to explain things on a pretty basic level while you're also trying to make a very good song, then it usually gets a bit confusing and it doesn't work that well, and it needs time, and if the explanation also needs time, then that time is going to encroach on each other, blah 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 blah, so it's going to be confusing. Now I usually like to build down a song by just having the same stuff still. This is, as you can see, this is the drums and the melody. It's practically taken the whole screen and turned it around because it wants to show these things instead of these things. And now these things, you know, you click on this, you see this, and this is, you might recognize this. If you look at this, it's much more squashed. Here though, you know, it's much less broad, so you kind of see it, but it's still a bit confusing. But practically this is the same file as well, and it's the same thing as if I click here. So this thing is this thing as well. Yeah, I know it's a bit confusing, but it's gonna soak in probably. So, you know, these are the melody and the chords again, and the bass and the drums. I think I'm gonna extend the melody and the drums practically when I'm doing. I'm just, you know, when there's gray, there's nothing, of course, and when there's this stuff, there is stuff. And then I've just taken the melody and extended it so that it keeps playing for longer. So at the end, it's gonna be like this. And then there's a moment where the bass and the chorus run out. And then I might even say I'd take away the drums, because, you know, if it suddenly stops, you listen to it and suddenly it's like, oh, okay, now the song is over, and you're like, what? That's confusing. I like to build down my songs a bit. So they only have the drums and the melody. The drums gone. And the melody gone. And then you can also say usually something like, you know, I'll add not the entire thing on the end of it, but just the last note usually sounds kind of nice. Like, and then you usually have that a bit extended, but I'm too lazy to entirely do that right now. And then we can do a lot of things with this, because this is almost like it's our song. And then I can say, like, what if I'm going to change it up. And I'm going to say, I want my melody playing twice at like an octave distance from each other. As I said, an octave or an eighth. Here, if you look, here, that sounds nice. So if I play it like this, you know, it can sound nice, and it's so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the computer play it twice. You don't have to understand exactly what's going on right now, but practically, what I'm telling the computer to do is play the thing itself and play it an octave higher as well. So just pretend that is what, this thing doesn't say chord shift and everything. It says play this note and also this note of 12 higher. So, 12 half keys, which then ends up being an eighth. It's confusing numbers, bloody blah. But, it plays it 1 octave higher as well. So now you get the melody as this. Or if I make it 12 lower, actually, that seems like a better idea because the top one is kind of squealish. You have a... And then I've just made it solo so that it only plays this one, so that I can hear what's going on in this one. It's just a little button. There's some useful things like that, and I can also like this, and if it's gray, that means it doesn't play it. So you no longer hear the melody, and now it's back again. There's all those types of things. I can hear this thing. I can make it down, and this is just another volume slider, yes, and then the melody is suddenly much less loud. So stuff like that. Actually, I might do it a little down a little. So that's the thing that I can do. Practically what I'm saying is, right, this is what I have programmed. But I don't always want to go in there and dig in like the whole everything that I've put in there just to add the same thing but 12 half notes underneath it. Sometimes I just want to tell the program, you know what, tell the instrument exactly what it says here, but then twice, so have it once normal and once twice below it. And then this stays the same, but the signals that the instrument receives suddenly become different. And there's a few different things. Chord is kind of understandable because I'll try to explain it so that you can understand. What happens is chord says, next to, it's going to give the signal that it says here. It's going to keep giving those normally. It's also going to give whatever you put in here. Now they're still gray because they're at 0 ST. Not just ST is semitones, so half tones. But so it goes up and now. If we're looking at the white keys of a keyboard or the piano, then +2 is the next white key. So that's gonna, if you have this, then you also get this. Now that creates a second, which is very ugly. So let's see for a third, which is, this, and this one. So you have a third. No, that sounds nicer. And then I can also say, like, for example, 7th, and then suddenly you've got this little thing, and it's practically you form a chord like that, but you don't always want to use this for something like this chord, because not all chords are the same. They decided, like, oh no, we're gonna have both minor and major chords. You can't play those exactly the same, so I usually don't use this for making the actual chords. I usually just put those in there. But if sometimes you want to have, at a certain point, it plays the melody with a double voice, right? Then you can have this little thing off. So, this one is not orange, it's off. This one is on. So the instrument itself is on, but it playing twice isn't. And then here it suddenly plays twice, so you can have it starting to play twice in the song, like this. And the way that that works, it's a bit confusing. It's if you press the A key, or if you have, where is it? There's like there's a button somewhere on screen, I believe, to do it as well. Is it here? Automation. Yeah, the A for automation. If you press that key on your keyboard, that is also going to bring you to what is called automation mode. And this, we've programmed the keys, and I've shown you before, like for example, if I change the volume, right, and look at this line, that's gonna suddenly move up and down when I change the volume. So this little line represents the volume, but moreover, I can also say, hey, here I have a point. At this point I want it to be this loud, and at this point I want it to be this loud. But then I drag this point down, and suddenly it's going to be less loud. Here is how loud we put it to be first. And it's going to slowly go down, and then it's less loud. So that's how you make it progress over a song. And it's, I personally had some confusion with how to actually select things. Here in the right, you have the instruments, you have the how loud they are. You can solo them or mute them, or you can arm the record, blah 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 blah. Things that, some of those things I've explained, some of them not, but a bunch of things about the actual instrument. And then here in automation mode, you'll see that these two boxes actually appear. You can say, here there's different parts of it, and if you've made it yourself, then you'll know the chord here that it shows here is the little chord here in the bottom, and now that's what we want. We also have wavetable, which is the actual instrument is called, in this case, wavetable, and we have mixer, which is a thing, kind of this thing. And it has some things like speaker on to turn the whole, this whole line, so practically the instrument on or off, to make it pan, which is whether it's to the right or the left, but that's not important, and it's a bit confusing. The track volume, as I just showed, you can choose the different things. And these here are also very confusing, but if you want to change the volume, that's there. But now device on is what I want to see for chord, because I want to change whether or not the device is on. And now if I change whether it's on or not, you'll see up here, you'll see the little line jumping around. So what I want to do is, let's say in the end I wanted to have the double melody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this, and then I'm going to play it. And it suddenly has the melody double. And that's, I probably won't, I don't think it's necessarily a good idea to put that in here anywhere. It's just because I don't think it sounds very, I don't think it sounds that much more interesting. I don't think it's worth really putting all that head brain effort into, so I'm just gonna delete that. I'm not actually gonna use that, but as an example. So there's different things. For example, let's say there's a lot of songs that have things that just fade out. Let's say I want to have that in my song. I can change the tempo with this as well, so I can make it change what's going. But track volume for the master, everything goes through the master in the end. So if I say, for example, the master goes way down, suddenly the song is much more quiet. And if I say like here, I ban it, and it goes all the way to the left like this, you'll hear that it's only playing in your left ear. But if I'm playing with the volume a bit, I can say in the end I want it to fade out, instead of, I have to find some kind of an end to the whole thing. So what you get then is, and there are more nuanced, more difficult ways to kind of fade it out, but you get the idea. You have the ability to make the song slowly fade out. So what happens then is you have the whole song, and you have whatever things you want to do. Let's say, for example, I actually want to use the track volume to make the drums go down a bit, and I usually make a bit of a curve with like 2 or 3 little pieces, and then you hear at the end, the drums gradually slow, like go away. And then, like that, you have made your entire song, and you can play it with this thing. You can press on play, and the whole thing plays, and you can hear it all over. And you can also export it. This is really turning much more into an explanation thing than I was thinking. So I'm probably, like, next time I'm probably gonna get much more into making the actual songs. And I think it's probably a good idea to assume that most people that are watching are a bit, more interested in music already, so they already know, things about harmonics and about chords. Maybe I can make a little series about understanding music theory and Ableton, but I'm probably not gonna do much like this anymore. But practically, if you wonder, like, is this really what musicians do? Is this guy any good, or is he just saying random stuff and pretending he knows all of it? I do know stuff. I do know the stuff. So just kind of as a fun thing, let's. I don't think I'm gonna use these instruments. I think I'm gonna use the drums, but not the rest of the instruments probably. And I'm just gonna actually make a song. I might be a bit quieter now, but yeah, I think I'm gonna use those as, as the actual thing. Actually, I might want to save that separately. That was the last one. So I'm gonna save a I'm gonna save this one as. And then I'm actually going to make an interesting song with some of the stuff that I've just mentioned. So I don't know. I think it's also, it's mainly because people are like, why are we watching this? Why is this of any interest to anything or anyone? Then I just like to. And it's just because I like to make music, and I haven't actually been making that much music so far. So, so I just want to do some of the actual music making that I'm here for, as well. So let's see, we have. And actually, I think I want to change out that bass drum for something that's better. And there's a bunch of bass drums. Where are the bass drums? Kick. I might also remove this from it, but I think I'm gonna just do some funky things and try and make a bit of an interesting song, probably a bit techno-ish. I think I'm gonna use that as the bass. I'm gonna see. Let's see. there we have a bit of a bass thing, probably not in the right times yet. And I think I'm gonna make it like this. I think I'm actually gonna make it there, so. Yeah, okay, that I like that. I think I'm gonna have to remove that one from the beat because that doesn't work that well. So then we have a little bass, we have some drums. Let's see, I kind of want to have some chords for something interesting. Ooh, I think I'm gonna actually. Do I want to use a shamisen? Shamisen is a funny, cool little instrument. It sounds pretty cool. You can make some really cool things with it if you do correctly. Do I wanna? Kind of want to see if a mallet synth works well. And I think I'm just gonna. I think I'm going to use. Am I gonna do that? I think I'm gonna use this little instrument that well, it's not really an instrument that I made myself. It's kind of custom settings that I made for a specific instrument. And let's see. And this is in C minor main. Yeah, entirely it seems. So we have this little instrument. So what I'm gonna do with that? Ooh. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, is to make it 3 of C minor, and then extend that to here, and then F minor seemed to be a good idea. I'm going to turn that down a bit because it's a bit loud. There. I'm not so sure those sounds are exactly the ones that I'm looking for. Do I have any of the strings? Do I have a warble? No. Here, strings. Those could work. Might have to tweak the settings a bit. Those have a very short decay. I know why, but those strings are doing something weird at the start, as if they're made to duck. Let's see how those alone. No. that might work well. So. And then I think. Okay, I think I'm gonna put a. No, I'm stupid. I didn't actually put an A flat. Well, I did put an A flat there, but I put an A flat at both places, so. And I think I need to pick a different rotation for that one. So let's have it. Maybe that's a bit too much cut off. I think that sounds kind of funky. And then let's have a bit of a. Well, I know, because it's a ballad synthesizer and it's a very nice instrument. I really like it, but it's not. It doesn't work for melodies. It works for more other things. I don't know how you. I forgot the word. That's just too normal. Do I want a melody? I don't think I want a melody. I'm gonna unmelody myself. My song. No melody. So I'm not sure this is gonna work. I feel like this is gonna be not a great song either way. Let's see. No, I think I'm just really stupid and this song is just not gonna work, but what kind of a thing could I put over this? Maybe I should have more of a second melody, but no first melody. So then I have that. And then I'm going to have to change that a whole lot. I don't think it's going to be a great song still, but at least there's some things happening. I think I'm going to put my usual effect kit in there, which is just a drum kit that has a few effects. It has some risers. Cool, that one hurts my ears. But just some funny effects to kind of tie some songs together sometimes. But I think I'm going to start recording. I'm gonna do something slightly confusing, but I'm gonna not take the thing that I thought was a melody, not put that in there, because I don't think it's gonna be a melody at all. You have the slight build up. I think I'm gonna actually remove the end of the build up, because I think I'm gonna remove that part alone. Put a channel equalizer on this. I think I want a middleizer, because I believe the middleizer is the one that I am thinking of that has I'm gonna do a really weird thing here, and I don't know why, because I really do weird things sometimes. And then I'm gonna actually put the melody in here with drums, and you can to do that riser twice as long. In fact, twice as long again. And then put that in there. Replace that whole part with some snares. I think I'm gonna just change their velocities manually, because I'm stupid and I always do that, and it's not as efficient or as accurate, but and then I think I'm gonna have kind of like a full drop of everything, and then suddenly the whole melody is gonna sound much more familiar than if I would have done whatever I would have done otherwise. So here, and then probably ended off with the drums and the melody. So we got this. not a good song. So I don't know. I guess I'll keep it because maybe someday I'll be looking around and I won't have any new ideas, and I think like, oh, I could change this one around because it's, well, as I said, it wasn't very. It isn't very good, so it might become good if I change a lot. But yeah, it's this isn't a good song. But I guess I have explained a lot of things about music in this stream. So maybe I have incidentally triggered some the next world's biggest composer, but probably not. But yeah, I might look at some more moments if I can do some music streams and actually make good songs instead of getting all forgetting my purpose in streaming, like forgetting what I was doing again, and accidentally doing something that's not very interesting. No, but maybe in the future I'll be able to do some streams with actually good songs, and hopefully also get some songs for the project that I mentioned at the start. So I'm also probably gonna see if I can do some like writing for lore for the universe, or if I might just give up on writing this separate lore and just use my other canon that I have, because that could also be the answer. But for now I want to say thank you for watching. If you're from the YouTube, please check out the Twitch. If you're from the Twitch, please check out the YouTube. They're both in the descriptions of the channels. And if you're on YouTube and if you're on Twitch, you will probably see some funny buttons with follow or subscribe or like. They're really, really, really funny. Even funnier than when I forgot to actually do the right things. And I made not very good music. That wasn't so funny, but it's funnier than that. So don't worry, it's still very, very funny. But yeah, I hope I press some of the funny buttons, and I hope to see you again next time, perhaps when I make a better song. So, bye.